I was talking to some people the other day, and one of them asked me, what is this Camino Path like? Is it hard to walk on? I have bad news. This is going to be a little bit longer, a video. Why is it going to be a little bit longer? Well, because there is no easy answer from my point of view. And all I really know is what I have seen myself on El Camino del Norte. This is not exhaustive. I've not walked any of the other Caminos. I haven't even walked all of the Del Norte. I'll tell you what I've seen. And I've seen paved sections of walking path that just like this. In fact, I was following the arrows when I saw this path. I've seen all kinds of paved surfaces used, including jogging paths next to the river, next to alongside a road and next to the river. And I've seen roads that were not paved. And I will mention right here that this drop off on the side here is very steep. I've seen other very steep drop offs, especially in the Basque country, El País Vasco, and it's steep. Sometimes the path is just a narrow path through the woods. Sometimes the path is a narrow path through a farmer's field where the cows are grazing. When you encounter situations like this, I recommend watching where you step because there is no fence along this path between those cows and you. I have seen very, very narrow little paths like this one going back in through the grass and brush there. I've actually seen narrower than this one. I just didn't hunt up that particular picture. Very, very hard to see. And sometimes the path is dry. Sometimes the path is wet. The northern coast of Spain along the Bay of Biscay has pretty regular summer rains by my experience, so it's not at all uncommon to find wet or mud puddles or whatever. Sometimes the path walks right next to a beach, and this was on a piece of flat pavement, beautiful walking. Other times the path walks on the beach. The problem with walking on the beach is if you're on the sand, uh, it's pretty tough walking. So people tend to get right there where the water is firming things up a bit. The lady here on the left is a tour guide. She's trying to check on all her hatchlings. We're supposed to be following her and keeping up. Some places, and especially in El País Vasco, the path goes up, and it goes up fairly steeply. As you can see these stairways, this was a right climb. But not all stairways survive perfectly. It's been known to happen that the rainfall in the Basque country can damage anything that's on a hillside. The hillsides are steep. This is some wet pavement that's due to, it's not pavement, it's wet rocks, just due to a spring that was giving forth water. And this is just exposed rock. Many of these hills are rocks. And by clearing off the vegetation and walking on it constantly, the the limestone, I think it's limestone, uh, bones of that mountain are exposed. Sometimes those rocks are taken and used as pavers. In my heart, I want to believe that this is an old Roman road. I don't have any reason to do that. I just like to believe that it is one. Sometimes you're in a farmer's property and there's a gate to keep the cattle from going. All kinds of cattle guards and barricades. I've seen things where there was a small ladder that had to be climbed over, sort of a zigzag kind of thing to go back and forth so that people can do it, but the cattle can't. Here, just in case you're wondering, the yellow arrow says, "Keep right on going. Please latch the gate when you go by." I was walking around a headland. This was back in 21, if my memory serves, and it was the worst chunk of path that I've ever been on, the Camino. I got to one place, it was so intimidating with the drop off, the narrow path, the bad grade, the wet situation that I almost turned around. And if I hadn't had my trekking poles, I would have turned around. I got past that primarily because I just didn't want to go back on the stuff I'd already gotten through. Then I came to this. This is a composite. It's about 6 feet of almost vertical drop where it's really a very tricky piece of getting down there. I got it. I got past it. This was the last piece of really nasty chunk on that particular stretch. So how do you know about stuff like this? Well, I recommend granze.com. They have a lot of information, but also talk to the locals. The people who live near the Camino know the Camino. One fellow I was talking to uh, told me that, hey, don't even try this alternate version that goes around another headland. He said it's extremely dangerous. If you're not in a group of 3 or 4, don't even attempt it. You have to do it at the right time for the tides. Don't try. And I didn't. Sometimes, well, this is not the path. The guidebooks will tell you that you don't walk on a railroad bridge, that it's dangerous, and that the local authorities disapprove of it greatly. At the same time, my Camino friend Eddie, I'd been walking with him for some hours, was bound and determined that he was going to take this bridge instead of buy a ticket to go from one train station to the next, a distance of only a few hundred yards. Eddie was absolutely hard over that he was going to take this bridge. Roman was going to go with him. We're not going to discuss it anymore to protect the guilty.